people that I even know pretty well.
Yeah,
but had no idea. They had no idea that I had been coaching in the XFL. They had no. I mean, they know nothing about sports, and that's fine. That's just the way they live.
But doesn't everybody on the planet know the Dallas Cowboys star? I mean, that is like
they thought the Colts were the Cowboys. But you got to go Google that, folks. It's great. It is great. It's outstanding.
Just pull up the Tennessee Titans Twitter page and you'll see it. And if you want some laughs, it's funny. I mean, it's very lighthearted, very funny, and it does reveal just how so many people just aren't into it the way we are. That's for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's get to This Day in Sports. It's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. JC, you're going to like this one.
So,
in 1993, Bill Walton was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame.
Big Red, who
I need you to act like Bill Walton.
The Conference of Champions. I can't understand why anybody, especially in Los Angeles, would want to go to the Big Ten. Are you serious? Who is any good in that conference? How many national champions do you have in the Big Ten? The Big Ten can't hold the Pac-12's water. It's a joke. It's a joke. The Conference of Champions is the Pac-12. And
when's the last time the Pac-12 won anything?
They probably won some water polo event or some, this, that, volleyball. UCLA and USC are going to the Big Ten. That's all there is.
Right, but having said that, you did a great job. I'm sure our listeners love that. I saw this the other day and I screenshot it, and it comes at a good time here because you're talking about Conference of Champions.
Yeah,
in the last 20 years,
right.
From a combined team championship standpoint, combined titles, it just means more. Conference has won 108. The Big Ten's only won 22, and they don't even have anybody else on there.
Everybody's coming to the South.
So should we take their slogan? It just means more in the Conference of Champions, the SEC.
Yeah, well. What blew me away yesterday also that I learned was that 16 out of the last 17 national title games have included a It Just Means More team. And then he said something about New Year's 6-day bowl winners, in case you missed this yesterday. The It Just Means More conference has a record of 14-2. I had no idea. And I can tell you the two of the losses probably came from Auburn. But that blows my mind too. I had no idea that out of the last 4 years that the It Just Means More conference has won 14 of 16 New Year's 6-day bowl games. That blew me away because I thought, Auburn I know lost to some Big Ten team. They always do, and but it happened. So
yeah, it's
who's the other team? Yeah,
it's a good conference to go play ball in, regardless of your sport. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with JC on the Titan Hardline, Steve Russelll from WRUF will join us, talk about the Vanderbilt baseball series that starts tonight, and just his thoughts on this Gator baseball team heading into postseason. JC, our Peachland Dental picks, we had to hurry. We only picked one golfer each. I took Tom Kim. You take Hideki?
Yeah, we're both 5 under at the Craig.
Okay, well, I mean, as I said, at the TPC Craig Ranch, I don't know if it's any more difficult than Hale Plantation. This dude
11 under.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's another Korean, South Korean, Sung Yul No. He shot 11 under yesterday, and I mean, literally. Have you ever played this golf course, JC?
No, I know exactly where it is, though. It's very flat, wide open,
and you could land like 3 747s on every fairway.
But it's a very nice community. It's a high rent dollar community. It's in McKinney, Texas, which is about 40 miles north of downtown Dallas. The tournament used to be played at Las Colinas, which is, of course, in Dallas proper. still an easy course where Byron had it. But then they moved down to the Trinity River. That was an abject failure, which is 30 miles south of Dallas. So then they decided to go where the high dollars are, which is Frisco, McKinney, Allen, all those places. And that's where they play it. And it is a shooting gallery. So, yeah, Jason Day's in this, though. Scotty Scheffler's in this. And they're just tuning up for next week's PGA in New York.
Is it in New York? I thought it was in Pittsburgh.
Oak Hill is in Rochester, New York. What's it called? Oak.
Oh, it's another Oak I'm thinking of.
Oakmont is what you're thinking.
That's what I'm thinking of. Oakmont.
You're thinking of Oakmont, which is a famous course in Western PA in Pittsburgh. And this one, yeah.
Did you know this? Daniel tells us on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon Law. No, the kid who shot a 60, it was a par 71.
Yeah.
Broke his driver on one hole. Probably lost his chance at the historic 59 because of it. I was not aware of that.
That's bad luck for him, I suppose. But
well, I mean, he could have slammed it down. It could have been his fault. We don't really know.
Yeah. Oak Hill Country Club is next week in Rochester. Oak Hill.
Okay, Oakmont's what I'm thinking of.
Oakmont's Pittsburgh.
I've played Oakmont.
Oakmont's a famous course, dude. That's one of the most famous in America. And Arnie was a big name there, and as Pennsylvanian, but they've had U.S. Open there multiple times, PGA Championship as well. So,
JC, have you watched any of the NBA playoffs?
Yeah.
As I mentioned at the begining of the show, I was flipping through the channels. The 76ers at one time I thought were up 15 or 16. Am I wrong?
Well, I like you turned it on late, and when I turned it on,
okay. Well, I turned it on early, and they were clobbering the Celtics. So anyway, 3-3. They go back to Boston, which will probably be Saturday. But the Nuggets, I'm telling you, Jokic is just unstoppable. You can't stop him.
No, he's Nikola Jokic. He's taken over, and they're waiting on Golden State or LA. You got to like their chances against either one of those two if you follow this. And I just don't think the Lakers have the stamina to withstand another series after this Golden State one if they win it, because they're older. And LeBron and Anthony Davis are not durable right now. He's 38, and Davis is he's brittle. I don't know. I like Denver's chances a lot in this NBA thing to win the West. And, we'll see who comes out of the East. That's more of a toss-up. But Denver looks really, really solid to win the West. I agree with that. And Golden State, they're not going to go down easy. Lakers are going to have to play really hard to win Game 6. And if the Lakers don't win Game 6, they're not winning Game 7 up in San Francisco. So we'll see. But I think you're right. Denver's the team to beat right now.
Yeah, Denver's going to win it all, in my opinion. I think they're the best overall team. But tonight, you got two Game 6s. The Heat were back home against the Knicks to try to close them out, and the Lakers are home at 10 o'clock Eastern time to close them out.
And for all you hockey fans, the Florida Panthers are trying to close out Toronto tonight in Game 5 up north. And if they do that, they will play the Carolina Hurricanes, who have had multiple injuries and just took the Devils out in 5 games.
All right, that's your hockey update. I just saw this text on the Titan Mar text line. This is good. Chris from Cottondale. Do we know where Cottondale is? Isn't it in the Panhandle?
I thought it was up in the Panhandle.
Yeah. It sounds like it should be in Alabama or Mississippi, quite honestly.
It probably is.
He goes, just listening to JC the other day in his breakdown of our defense.
Yes, right.
I'm just wondering if it doesn't work out for Austin Armstrong here at UF, can we hire JC and let him install his cover 3?
Brilliant.
Coverage. He called it a coverage 3 and stone people. Laugh out loud.
Coverage 3. Coverage 3. That's. I know what that is. Everybody knows what that is. Yeah.
Ooh. So Josh from Mississippi on the Titan MR text line says, since he agrees with my first-class assessment that the Gators will win minimum of 8 games this season, he's heading over to the Beau Rivage today to bet the over on the Gators win total.
And that is what?
5.5.
I would definitely do that. I mean, all you got to do is win 6. Yeah, that's a good bet. That's a real good bet. And, if he's really frisky, he might be able to get the Gators getting 9 over there in Salt Lake City. So, hey, double up.
Joseph says JC is too old for Billy Napier to hire. Ha.
Well, probably.
Oh, this is a good one here.
They couldn't handle me anyway.
David says on Facebook Live, I no longer watch the NBA. I only watch Charles Barkley. He's not terrible. That's the problem. Like last night's game was on ESPN, I think.
Yeah.
But boy, when the games are on TNT,
It's the best.
there's no better television
It's the
than
best.
Shaq, Kenny,
Yeah.
Charles, and Ernie. There's
They
nothing
won,
better than that.
They won an award. What is that? A Tony Award or something? They won a Grammy or something. I don't know. They won an award. That show did, and
It's the greatest show ever.
it is so damn funny. You just have to like that type of humor. But Charles he and Michael Jordan don't talk. I saw a 60 Minutes show with Charles Barkley, and they talk about it. Yeah, they talk about his upbringing in Leeds, Alabama, and how he had to watch graduation. But one of the most interesting things in that whole interview to me was how he and Michael Jordan used to be best friends. He then criticized Michael Jordan's ownership of the team in Charlotte, and since then, Michael hasn't called him or talked to him. They don't talk. But Charles said, "Look, he's got my number, but and he has to be honest when he's doing this job of his." And I think he was right. Michael Jordan.
Well, I saw it. I don't know.
In terms of
I saw that as well. And I don't know if it was that program or another one, but he was talking about him as a commentator or a journalist or whatever in the media.
Mm-hmm.
That Dr. J, when he was like a rookie, Dr. J said, "Look, man, just always tell the truth."
Yeah.
And so he does. And I try to do the same thing. I'm not as I don't say it how Charles does, but what I see, I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Because
that's
if you're not,
then believes you. Your credibility goes down. But Dr. J was before Michael Jordan, and Dr. J ran the show, and I think that's great advice from one of the greatest ever. And look, Charles is one of the greatest ever. He never won a championship, but man, on an entertainment value number and in terms of just income earnings after basketball, he's as big as anybody. He's made so much money. He's done so well. So I love the way, if you can go on 60 Minutes and pull that piece up, that feature is about 15 minutes long. It would be worth your time to watch it, because what he said at the end was tremendous about, my grandson may not know who I am, but I want him to be proud of what I did or something. I don't know. But it was very, very revealing, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I highly recommend watching that.
Yeah. Text on the Titanmar text line from Daryl. He says, "Good morning, guys. I hope the rain stays away. My wife and I are coming over to, as JC calls it, Condron Ballpark."
Well, Condron is a great place to watch baseball. Haven't been there yet. I was going to go, and then they lost and didn't play the Miami Hurricanes.
They can still play. JC, that was the first series of the year. The season is almost over.
No.
Why don't you go today? There's a game 5:30 today, a game 6:30 tomorrow, and a game I think at noon or 1 on Sunday.
Yeah. The weather. It's the weather, but I might. I have to get ready for By the way, folks, you'll miss me on Monday. I'm sorry. I'm having a colonoscopy on Monday. But no, the thing is that the game I was going to go watch was in the regional, and I had tickets right above home plate there. And I thought they were going to play Miami, but the Gators went in the losers bracket. And so instead of playing in prime time, they had to play early, and USF eliminated them. So I didn't get to go. But I'm going this year. If they host a regional, I am absolutely going 1,000%. I can't wait.
They're going to host a regional. It's just, are they going to host a super regional? As of yesterday, they were not in the top 8.
That's right. And that doesn't mean they won't host a super regional, but a top 8 is an automatic hosting of a super regional. But they can still host a super regional provided there's upsets and they win. But we'll see. You want to be one of the top 8. So that's the whole thing about these last two. Look, this Vanderbilt series is huge. If they can win, they have to sweep Vandy to then take the lead in the East. If they win 2 out of 3, nothing changes. If they get swept, of course, they fall. But they need to do well and beat Vanderbilt, and this is going to help them, in their pursuit, I think, of getting a top 8 seed. And if they win the SEC tournament in Birmingham, that should do it also.
Yeah, today's a big game for the softball team. I think if they beat Tennessee, they'll host. If not,
what happened to Montana? She got hurt. They beat Arkansas. Alabama beat Arkansas, and then she got hurt. I don't know what happened to her. But
I don't watch Alabama softball.
Well, it's all part of the SEC tournament, QB. You're supposed to know everything that's going on at the SEC tournament the Gators are playing in. Can't believe you don't know.
The SEC tournament's here next year. I'm going to be one of them dudes.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit up on Tim's balcony. I'm going to watch all them games.
I know exactly where you're going to be. I'll probably join you there. It's a wonderful event, and yeah, we love the whole. But I think the Gators, Tennessee, that's tough. We'll see what they do.
David says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, I met Napier. He's a lot taller and a snazzy dresser. He is taller than you think. Has a great way with people, and he puts in quotation shocking. If I had a D1 kid, I would love for him to play for him. He's a sharp man. He's got his stuff together. Like I told you, it's a big year.
Yeah, it is. Hey, go get that over under on 5.5. I'd do it. I'd do it right now. Put some.
Well, we just talked about it the other day, and you said no.
I didn't say they were going to win less than 6 games, but I didn't also say they were going to win 8 either. But they might. But I love over 5.5, QB.
And we'll go through because
total disrespect right there.
Because I was looking at it, and I think Brent and I were talking about it. I think Tennessee will be under their win total. I think Ole Miss will go under theirs. I think Alabama's going to be very scared. Look, they got to find. I know they're just not the same team they've been. I
think they'll be a little. Maybe they'll be better defensively, but offensively, you always have question marks when you're trying to find a quarterback. And I agree with that. I think Texas A&M is a team.
I think A&M is going to be a team that's going to surprise. It should be surprised. But I am
take Texas A&M.
The reason I'm on the Aggies is because I think Bobby Petrino. Put everything else aside, the dude can call plays. I know. And they got dudes. They got dudes,
but they also have to get that quarterback situation figured out. And
they got Connor Wigman's going to be their guy. He's very talented.
All right, I mean, we'll see. They did.
He's got the best. He's got the best receiving core in the league. So. I think they're going to be very good.
Yeah, they've always had these high expectations, especially coming from you. But that could be the year. This could be their year. I don't know. I mean, we all thought Jimbo was a good play caller too, and that didn't work out.
Well, he yes and no. But Joseph says, before we get you out of here and get to Steve Russelll, he says JC said we all knew he was a Gator deep down.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, yeah. Well, look, I went there. I went to graduate school at UF. My dad taught for 55 years there, 45, whatever. We got orange and blue all over in my family, but I decided to branch out and explore the world. So, what do you think of that? I was accepted for Summer A, though, after high school. Even though I had an 840 on my SAT, that wasn't my fault because they made me take it at 8 o'clock in the morning after we lost districts to GHS at the old Perry Field. And I wasn't in any damn mood to take an SAT exam. But then I took the ACT, got a 19 on that, and off I went. But I could have gone to Florida, Summer A only, and then passed that and gone into the fall.
So they had strict admissions back when you were trying to get into Florida?
Not nearly like they have today. Much different. But listen, Florida, I could have gotten in. My youngest son got in. My oldest did not. It's really strange. Your kid should have. One of your children should have got in. The other one did. It's crazy. I mean, it's like.
Well, I've already told the story. My other one got in because of football.
Well, sure, but I mean,
even though he had phenomenal grades,
right? And your first one wasn't. Your first one was no slouch either.
Correct. It's just it's totally. Don't. I could do hours and hours on the admissions issues.
We won't talk about that. I know. We won't.
It pisses me off.
It should piss you off, especially what you and your family have done for that school. But whatever. You know.
Chris says JC wanted to see the world, so he went to Tuscaloosa.
Hey, listen, in 1982, Bear Bryant, that was a whole new world, bro. And this was an exciting time. But then after I killed the bear in January of '83, they went on a 10-year slide. I mean, it wasn't until 1992, as we all know, that they won again. It was a 10-year drought for Alabama, and I started in '83.
All right, JC, have a good weekend. We got to get to the dean of sports and see what he has to say about the Mighty Gators.
I won't see you guys Monday, but I'll be back next Wednesday. Got to get up.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by Steve Russelll, talk a little Gator baseball. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's. Eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
It's left for Gainesville's best pig roast and special whiskey debut. Sunday, May 21st from 2 to 5 p.m., Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is roasting a whole pig and sipping Piggyback Rye Whiskey. Join us at Vicer's Rooftop for the release of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye's private labeled barrel select whiskey. We'll have specialty drinks, games, raffles, plus each ticket includes your own bottle of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye Whiskey to take home. Go to Spurriers.com to get your ticket to join 125 of your friends at the Rooftop Pig Roast before we sell out.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to Spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, The Keys, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Starbucks, Visor's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in all of America. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. And ahead of the Titan MR Hotline now, we're joined by the Dean of Sports in the Gainesville area from WRUF. ESPN Gainesville, Steve Russelll. Good morning, Coach Russelll. How you doing, my man?
Coach Matthews, how are you, sir?
I'm surviving. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a busy day ahead, still teaching all those youngsters over there. I wanted to get you on, obviously, Gator baseball. The season's winding down. Very talented squad. The series this weekend, you'll be calling 2 of the 3 games on radio with Cardozo. The Vandy boys are rolling into town. Very good program. What do you see? What do the Gators – I mean, obviously you want to sweep. You want to win the series. But I saw yesterday, are the Gators like 9th in America now, maybe out of that top 8?
Depends on the poll.
So, obviously, they got to win games. We know that. But what do they have to do to beat Vanderbilt? We know Vanderbilt's a very good team.
Well, Vandy comes in, and if you just look at league games, Shane, they got the best ERA in the SEC. So they can pitch it. And it's going to be interesting to me because they're starting 3 lefties in this series. And Florida just played Texas A&M, a team that has not pitched it well all year. And they threw a bunch of lefties at Florida, and they really gave them trouble. Some of the younger hitters, Heyman, Cade Curlin, really had trouble hitting breaking balls under the hands from lefties. So does Florida do a good job of adjusting with their right-handed hitters to that if Vanderbilt attacks that, which I think Tim Corbin's team will. So that's what I want to see, number 1. Number 2, Florida's done pretty well against Vandy historically of late. They've I think, split the last 4 series, but the home team has usually won. So I think Florida has to take 2. You don't want to lose a series at home this late in the year. You sweep, fine, but you want to take 2.
Let's talk about the entire league. We know year in and year out, the SEC, and it doesn't matter what sport it is, it's a bloodbath every series. How would you rank this year's, like, just the overall baseball teams that you've seen in person compared to, like, say, the last 5 or 6 years? Better teams overall from top to bottom?
Better hitting team, Shane, but the pitching is not as good. I mean, Vanderbilt's team ERA in league play is 4.54. That's the best in the SEC.
Wow.
The best. Florida's is over 6 in SEC games. So I've been told this. I believe it. I think the ball has been doctored a little bit. And I think that's why we're seeing way more home runs now than what you've seen before, back to that gorilla ball days back in the 90s. But I don't know that there's a great team. I'll tell you the team, though, that's the most resilient, that's Arkansas. They've had a bunch of injuries this year, and Dave Van Horn can coach. That he's done a remarkable job. That team now is on the rise after having some injuries early in the year. LSU's got Skeens, who's a great Friday night starter. But otherwise, it just depends who you play and when you play them. Texas A&M hadn't been playing very well, and all of a sudden they take 2 out of 3 from Florida. So it kind of depends, too, when you catch a team and how well they're playing.
We got a text for you here on the Titan Lamar text line from Jonathan. He says, Steve, you watched a lot of Gator baseball over the years. Is Jack Caglione the best overall player you've ever seen?
Ooh, I'll reserve judgment on that because Brad Wilkerson is the two-way player. He became a big leaguer, and I don't know that Cags is great defensively at first base. He's certainly good, and his pitching has been up and down, but in terms of just sheer raw power, my God. He hit a ball the other day at Texas A&M. Teams are getting smarter. They're trying to jam him so he can't extend his arms and then throwing him breaking balls away or change-ups away. He took a ball, hit it to left field the other day for the home run that broke the record, left field. So he's got power all over the place. And number 2, Shane, he's just a good kid. He's humble, works hard, good teammate, great guy to be around. I don't know if he's the best, but in terms of sheer power, he's number 1, no doubt.
Yeah, and he has to come back to school. I think people forget that. He's got to come back. When I look at him, I know Wilkerson very well. Wilkerson was a really good athlete. He could play a lot of different sports, and we know what he did in baseball. But he didn't look athletic, if you know what I mean. He just looked kind of goofy. Well, this dude looks like an athlete. He looks the part. And so I'm sure in the off season they can work on a few things here and there. Do you think, I know we're looking way ahead, but everybody wants to compare him to Ohtani because of his pitching and his hitting and stuff like that. Do you think, looking at his professional career down the road, do you think he'll try to continue doing both, or will they just put him at first base or somewhere, or DH or something like that?
He does throw up to 98. So, he's got velocity. But I think if they were to do that, Shane, they would really have to hone his skill in the minor leagues. And the question is, if he's a good hitter, if he's good enough as a hitter, do you want to keep him back in the minor leagues to, make him a better pitcher? So my answer would be right now, no, I don't think so, because he still walks a lot of hitters. He's still kind of raw in that. So I would say at this juncture of his career, no, but let's see what happens next year.
Dave has a question for you on the Titan Lamar text line. He says, Steve, do the Gators have the pitching rotation and bullpen to make a deep run in the tournament?
The starters, I don't know, to be determined, because look at the numbers that Waldrop and Sproat, and to some Caglione too, they strike a lot of guys out, but their ERAs are high. And what's happened? A walk, a hit batter, and then a home run, and all of a sudden there's 3 runs. That's kind of how the Gator starters have gone this year. They strike a lot of people out, but their ERAs are high. And the bullpen, which was a mess early on, I think is straightened out now. I think Kevin O'Sullivan now can say, if I need long relief from a lefty, I can get Cade Fisher. I can get Tyler Nesbitt. And I can get Phillip Abner as a lefty, and certainly Neely to close out games. So I think the bullpen now is better than what it was. I'm not sure about the starters. They're certainly capable, but again, when you get in the playoffs, you got to be good on that day.
Yeah. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, Cag walks to the plate, the entire stadium stops and watches. You could hear a pin drop. It's crazy. Yeah, he's one of those kind of guys. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen when he's at the plate. We got another text here. It's a long text, so I'm just going to kind of paraphrase it from Fred. A lot of it has to do with NIL, talking about how LSU, I believe, got some players in the all season, some transfer portal guys. And his question is, Steve, how much has NIL played into the Florida Gator baseball team?
Not a lot yet, but I think that'll probably change because of what you just said. How many guys now, Florida and LSU too, their baseball program is really good. But how many guys now, if it's coming down to Florida and LSU, well, LSU is offering NIL money, and Florida isn't offering as much. Where do I go? Could that be a factor? Yeah, it could be a factor. So, with Florida victorious now, hopefully that gets going and straightened out. So I'm hoping Florida has, the game here as far as that goes. But I don't know that in baseball it's as prevalent as it is in other sports, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're speaking with Steve Russelll here on the Titan MR hotline. If you got a question or a Facebook Live question, shoot it to us. Got a few more minutes with Steve. Let's switch gears a little bit. Softball had a big win yesterday in the opener against Kentucky in the SEC tournament. They played the number 1 seed, the Lady Vols. I heard something while I was watching that game yesterday, and I may say it wrong, but it was something like Tennessee had not won the SEC since like Monica Abbott was there. That's crazy.
Yeah. In Florida's dominated it, and a couple of other teams as well. And I remember Monica Abbott; she was a lefty and terrific. But Tennessee's good now. They're very good in the circle. They're good at everything. They don't really have much of a weakness. Now, any pitcher can shut down a lineup on a given day. Tennessee has that capability. I don't know that Florida has that pitcher in the circle now that's going to just shut you down. That puts a lot of pressure then on the Gator offense, which has been the case most of the year.
Yeah, and you look at Skylar Wallace. Steve, you used to call a lot of softball games back in the day, and I follow that program very closely. I mean, the year she's having is unbelievable. And honestly, we could have the player of the year in both softball and baseball. I don't know if that's ever happened at one university, but can you think of, I know Amanda Lorenz and some other girls that we've had tremendous years, but have you seen anyone do what she's doing at the plate? But she's that 5-tool player that everyone dreams about having.
It's funny, Shane. I did a few softball games this year for the first time in a while. And when I first saw Skylar Wallace in person, I thought, how is she hitting all these home runs? Because she's fast, right? But she's got a quick swing, and she uppercuts a little bit in the swing, and she's dangerous because she can beat you with a long ball, and certainly she puts the ball in play. She's a threat to beat it out. So she can beat you in a lot of ways, get on base in a lot of ways. She's pretty special. I cannot recall players have hit more home runs. Players have driven in more runs, but in terms of combination of speed, defense, power, all of that, she's it. She's it.
Yeah, I agree, and she has another year. I think people forget that she'll be coming back as well. We got a text here on the Titan Mar text line from Daryl. It says, Shane, could you ask Steve what team in the SEC needs to make the most noise in the SEC tournament to make a regional?
Well, it depends who gets in, first of all, because we don't know that yet. But I will throw this out, Shane. Before play starts today, the 2 teams that would not make the SEC tournament are Ole Miss and Mississippi State. They are the last 2 national champions. That's how loony this league is, year to year. The Mississippi State's, their ERA, Shane's almost 9.
Oh,
they can't pitch. But to answer his question, a team like Missouri is going to have to, if they get to the SEC tournament, they're going to almost have to win it because they're just not very good. So I would, if they make it, I would say them. As far as teams that want to be, hosting, Florida is right there because the latest D1 baseball projection I saw has Florida hosting a regional with Arizona State, Troy, and Army. Now, that could change in a week, but Florida's right on that cusp now. depending on the poll. They're 7, they're 8. Well, top 8 means you host a regional, you host a super regional too if you advance. Other than that, you don't. You host a regional, but not a super regional unless some other things happen. So it's really important for Florida to get in that top 8 so they can stay at home. But to answer Daryl's question, obviously a team like Missouri, that's the team that comes to mind. They have to win the SEC tournament.
Peter's got a text here on the Titan Mark text line, and I don't know if I've ever had people ask me a question about the semis. He says, Steve, are you surprised at how poor the semis played in baseball so far this year?
Yes, that poorly, yes. But you could see this coming because Mike Martin Jr., or 5.5, did not recruit well. He did not. They made the NCAA tournament the last couple of years on reputation and because they had just enough leftover players from dad that they could compete, but they just hit rock bottom. You don't have talent. I think the coach they have now is good. I think he's going to rebuild that program, but right now they're terrible. It surprises me that they're this bad, but did I think this year they'd make the tournament? No, I did not think so because you look at their roster, it's just not very good.
Rules State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. All right, Steve, 1779. Yeah. Last question for you.
Uh-huh.
I went to opening day, Major League Baseball, the Rangers ballpark. I totally forgot about the damn pitch clock. And I was like, wow, this is going fast. I know you're a diehard baseball guy. You hate the pitch clock, right?
Actually, I don't.
Really?
No,
that
I
shocks
don't.
me.
I don't. The reason why I don't is because I think, Shane, pitchers do better getting it and throwing it. But when you get the ball and you rub it and you put your hat and it slows the game down, but I think it slows you down. As a former pitcher, I like to pitch in rhythm. Give me the ball, let's go. Give me the ball, let's go. I think the better pitchers do that. Now, some who used to take forever, are in the Hall of Fame. I get that. But I know that's what Kevin O'Sullivan preaches. Get it. If you watch Florida, get it and pitch it. I think a lot more. You have to now because of the clock, but he's always preached that. And, before the season started, Shane, I'm for all these things because as a baseball fan, you have to, I don't care what league you're in, and the NFL does the best job of this. You know this. They listen. They understand fans. What do fans want? Fans apparently wanted games that were shorter and that were going more quickly. So baseball made these changes. They took away the shift, which I think is going to happen in college eventually, because usually college follows the pros.
Speaking of the shift, are you glad they got rid of the shift? Because that, to me, that would be like saying, okay, you can't blitz in football anymore.
Yeah, and I've heard that argument, and I get it. I totally understand that. But baseball is a little bit different. You can do some things to combat a blitz. You can keep a tight end in, or you can keep a back in, right, to combat a blitz. The only thing you can do to combat a shift is hit the ball the other way.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, I was going to say, and I get that, but that's not what pro hitters are going to do. They're just not. I'm not saying they shouldn't, right, because if they're smart, they will. It's just like when BT Riopel is the best at this. They were shifting on him, and BT just bunted the ball down the third base line. If it's a fair ball, it's a hit because of the shift. Well, guess what? They stopped doing that. Now they keep the third baseman at third to combat that. So there are ways to get around that if you choose to do it. Big league hitters ain't going to bunt down the third base line. That's the other thing. So that's why. But I take the shift away. Baseball wants more balls put in play. That's why it's there.
Yeah. All right. Last thing for you. Speaking of baseball, major leagues played almost like maybe 40 games now. Obviously, the Rays are just unbelievable what they do. But anything else surprise you in Major League Baseball so far?
Well, you hit the Rays. They're incredible. What they do, Shane, and how they do it, how they evaluate talent, how they develop the talent. And then when it gets too pricey for them, they just bring somebody else in and they do well. It's amazing what they do. The team you saw, the Rangers, have surprised me a little bit in a positive way. The Braves have too, even though, they're supposed to be good. They have a lot of injuries. Freed's been hurt. So they have. On the other side, I predicted this, that the Mets would not do well because they sign guys who are 95 years old. And this is what happens. Look, now Verlander pitched good his last start, but Scherzer has struggled. Those hitters have struggled, and the Mets are below 500. So, they're a disappointment too. The Phillies have been, considering they were a World Series team last year, they're hovering around 500. They've been a bit of a disappointment too. But I'm glad for Arizona. I'm glad for Pittsburgh. I'm glad for Baltimore, because those teams now, at least for, we're in the middle of May, are relevant. And a lot of those franchises haven't been relevant in a long time. So it's good for baseball. It's good for those cities.
Hey, John on Facebook has one last question for you. He says, Steve, how do you feel about the celebration or showing emotion rule? For example, when Neely got thrown out of the game against Georgia.
We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. I'll say this. I get it, why umpires have to do what they have to do. The easiest thing to tell your team is, if you're going to celebrate, turn to your dugout. If you turn to your dugout, you can pump your fist, you can yell, you can scream, you can do whatever you want because you're yelling at your dugout. The minute you start the other way, right, you're putting yourself in jeopardy. I understand there were a lot of Gator fans that didn't like Neely being ejected, and I'm one of those in the minority that said he should have been. And here's why. Because the umpire warned both benches, okay, before that. Now, I would also say the umpire shouldn't have put it to that level. There was no need for a warning at that point to, formally warn both benches. You say, hey, knock it off. I don't want to hear that anymore. Okay, the next time it happens, okay, then if you want to make it formal, you do. But that set the stage for that, Shane. That's the part I had the trouble with. The umpire shouldn't have done that. But when Neely did that, I mean, could you have turned the other way if you're an umpire? Maybe, but I get it, why he did it.
Yeah. You got your Aaron Rodgers jersey yet?
It's coming. It's coming. But you know what? That's going to be boom or bust too. Because look at Brett Favre, right? And they were better with Brett Favre, certainly, but it didn't get him to the mountaintop. And you know this, if you are 90% retired, as he said he was when he went in his, he went in there, are you all of a sudden now all in? I mean, maybe you are, and I hope he is, because the Jets have built around him. But I'm excited, my friend, because at least for a while now, they're relevant. And they're going to be playing some really nice games, on Monday Night Football and all those kind of things, what the Jets don't do. So that's good.
Well, Steve, we appreciate your time. Everybody can listen to Steve Monday through Friday, 12 to 2, ESPN Gainesville WRUF. Appreciate it, my man.
Got it, Shaner. Thank you.
That's Steve Russelll. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. I hope you enjoyed today's program. Have a great weekend, folks. See you on Monday. Thank you, Stevie.